Human mobility on a global scale is constant, complex, and overwhelmingly vast. At any given moment, millions are in transit across international borders. In the year 2000, recorded international migrants stood at 150 million people, representing 2.8% of the global population. By 2026, that number reached 304 million. As a share of the total global population, migrants now account for 3.7%. This growth reflects a significant increase in volume, yet long-term patterns of where and how people move have remained remarkably stable. This systemic stability persists even as the migration landscape absorbs the shocks of geopolitical conflict and accelerating climate degradation. While 304 million provides a useful macro indicator, this aggregate total merges billions of individual data points into a single massive block. When this single number drives global headlines, specific regional drivers, like a local labor shortage or a sudden border conflict, often disappear behind the massive total. Truly understanding modern migration requires us to deconstruct this monolith and analyze the raw data layers beneath it. Before breaking down the demographics, we have to establish the math. How does a person qualify for inclusion in that 304 million count? In 2025, the United Nations Statistical Commission endorsed revised recommendations on how international migration is measured. These new standards replaced 1998 guidelines to better reflect modern data collection and shifting mobility patterns. To maintain statistical clarity, the Commission first isolated temporary mobility from actual migration. Temporary mobility covers international border crossings that do not involve a permanent change in residence. An individual only enters the international migration data once they cross a 12-month temporal threshold. They must establish a change in their country of residence for a minimum of 1 year. A student or worker relocating for 6 months is recorded as temporary mobility, but they are excluded from the global migrant count. Someone staying for 14 months passes the threshold and adds 1 unit to the global statistic. This 304 million figure represents a precise measurement of individuals who have navigated a strictly defined legal and temporal boundary. Beyond the temporal threshold, the next layer of deconstruction is demographic granularity, starting with the gender split. On a global macro level, 48% of all international migrants are female. This near-even split suggests a uniform balance, but the average masks extreme regional disparities. This chart displays international migrants by sex across the top destination and origin countries, and it reveals a more fractured reality. Focus first on the left side of the data, which tracks populations arriving in destination countries. In nations like the United States, the United Kingdom, and France, the red female and blue male bars show near parity. Look lower at Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Here, the blue male bars show a massive demographic overrepresentation. These imbalances are driven by regional economic structures and specific demands for male-dominated manual labor. The right side of the chart tracks the countries people are leaving, showing another set of divisions. India and China produce the world's highest absolute volume of immigrants. But in Ukraine and Syria, the demographic profiles shift. War and displacement create a female majority in the immigrant population, inverting the labor-driven patterns seen elsewhere. These localized labor markets and regional crises dictate the physical reality of migration, rendering the global average a statistical abstraction. Even these granular demographics only represent what states can cleanly measure. To see the rest, we must look at dark data. Gaps in the data are a fundamental characteristic of the migration ecosystem, particularly regarding economics and safety. International remittances act as the financial engine for millions of families in origin countries. These are defined as financial or in-kind transfers made directly by migrants to their home communities. Official World Bank and IMF datasets provide a massive baseline, but they cannot account for the full scale of these flows. Huge volumes of wealth move through informal, unrecorded channels. Because these flows bypass official tracking, the actual magnitude of global remittances remains hidden. This chart tracks regional migrant mortality from 2014 to 2024, representing the most severe data gap of all. These figures combine recorded deaths with thousands of individuals reported as missing, accounting for the inherent uncertainty of these transit routes. The absence of data in these sectors maps the boundaries of the world's most informal and dangerous migration corridors. Despite immense geopolitical disruption, the underlying structures of global migration show a deep-seated resilience. The 304 million count is anchored by a 12-month temporal definition that separates long-term relocation from temporary movement. The demographics of this population remain fractured, dictated by the specific needs of regional labor markets and the impact of local conflicts. This entire system is supported by a secondary layer of unrecorded financial networks and untracked human loss. Ultimately, all of these complex trends converge on a single defining tension for the future of migration: the widening capability gap. While the aspiration of populations to move is increasing globally, the legal and safe capability to do so is steadily narrowing. The 2026 report serves as a baseline diagnostic for measuring the structural fractures emerging in global mobility.